All right, I'm reaching my hand out. I'm reaching my hand out. Bam! There's the hot tag. Here we go, motherfucking. No. Yeah. So I'm gonna start this segment off by just basically saying fuck New York City. You know, just fuck it
Sure.
right up the nose with a rubber hose. You know. I hope you get checked for colon cancer and his hand gets stuck. I hope you stub your toe next to every fucking ottoman in every home you ever enter. I hope every left sock gets wet while you're wearing it. I don't give a shit about
Oh my
anybody
god.
running this goddamn city. I don't. I hope your favorite food gives you salmonella. I hope all kinds of bad shit happens to you because this is bullshit. Now I need to attack this from several sides, so give me a second here to explain what's going on. So for those of you who uh, are not from New York City, which is not a lot of you, because predominantly most of my listeners are from New York, but that's okay, because I'm going to do this segment for a bunch of people that even if you're not from New York, I'll be able to explain this because it's fucking ridiculous. So apparently, I found out just I'll say a day or two, maybe a day or two after Christmas. I saw an article that said something about congestion relief in Manhattan. I didn't know what that meant. I did a
Sounds
little.
good.
It sounded on paper. I was like, "What is?" My mind immediately went to traffic, right? Congestion. So I was like, "All right." So I understand that, right? So when I clicked on the article, did a little further reading, I had found out that they were implementing a new congestion relief zone fare, meaning they were going to be charging money to relieve congestion, which right there off the bat doesn't make any fucking sense. And I'll explain why in just a second. Let me continue with the explanation. So, what they did here in New York City is if you've never been in the. Let me explain really quickly, too. We have 5 boroughs here in New York that all interconnect. However, for those of you who don't know, allow me to explain. New York City is not all 5 boroughs. Manhattan, technically, is New York City. The Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, we're all interconnected to New York City, so we're all just kind of considered part of New York City. But when you're here, when you live here, or if you live just on the outskirts of the river in Jersey, like North Jersey, Hoboken, Jersey City, Manhattan is New York City. So, when you hear things in the news like this happened in New York City and this happened in New York City, they're talking about Manhattan. Anytime, and I've traveled all across the country. I've been out of the country, so I've seen the news when it relates to something involving New York, and they do the same thing every time. They go, "Well, in New York City," and then if you ever see in New York City and they show footage of the news, it's somewhere in Manhattan. You'll never hear it's from New York City, and then they'll show you like something in the Bronx. It just never happens. So just to clarify that moving forward. So our city is designed as a grid, which a lot of metropolitan areas are, but this one in particular is particularly a pain in the ass. Because it's gridded and it goes up and it goes across, it's simple. It's very easy to get gridlocked on the stupidest shit. Because if you have 3 lanes, it could get built up. If you have 1 lane, obviously it gets built up. We don't have, like I went to California this past summer. I was on a highway that had 6 fucking lanes on it. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to behave. Because I'm feeling like some of these lanes got to be a trap. One of these lanes has to be illegal. There's no goddamn reason to have this many lanes. Because I'm from New York, and if you get 4 lanes, you start getting nervous. So over here, our highway is 2 lanes, 3 lanes at the most. And so they being Manhattan, New York City, we've had a problem with traffic in New York for forever. Since the invention of the car. When they invented the car, literally everyone bought one at the same exact fucking time. It was a pain in the ass. As soon as the car was invented, about a day later, we had gridlock traffic. It has always been this way. They created the subway. Well, not subway. They created a train system here in New York in the earlier days where it would run on a track on the street, and then it would run a track on a rail overhead. They had to get rid of that because people apparently don't see trains when they come through, so they were dying. People were getting hit by trains because the trains are on a track, but the track isn't covered, it's not blocked, it's just going down the neighborhood on the fucking rail. So some idiot kid, he's bouncing the ball, and he goes, my ball went this way, and now little Jimmy's in half. He's been halved. He was halved. And so they said, this is too dangerous, so we need to figure this out. That's when they developed the underground tunnels, which was, I believe, a stolen concept from another place. But that's why I love the Subway Museum so much, because that's where I learned about that. So, because they give you this whole rundown. It's awesome. I love trains. Anyway, not like in an autistic way, but I have an appreciation.
I don't know. That sounded pretty autistic. Yeah,
no, I like trains. I know, not like that kind
yeah,
of.
exactly.
Not that's how it sounded in your head, but that's not what I said. So that's when the subway.
What I'm going to tell my friend.
That's when the subway was created. Now, just like I said a second ago, the minute they created car, we had traffic. It seems compatible with the subway that the minute we created the subway, murder was on the rise. All of a sudden, now it's just like death is so much easier. Like, murderers were like, I like this concept. You're taking me off the street and putting me in a place where no one's going to be. That's awesome. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
The subway system from day one has never been a safe place, ever. We've always had people sleeping on the trains, pissing on trains, shitting on trains, living essentially on trains. With like, they would take up sections of the train to like hang shit. You know, like decor. Like people think I'm bullshitting when I say shit like that. Like, yeah, like they would go to a laundromat, do their clothing. They only really had enough to wash. They didn't really have enough to dry. So they'll go on the train and get a little section in the corner and they'll hang it. Or there'll be people who go out partying and they get on the train and the motion of the train fucks with them and now we've got puke all over the fucking train. Or whatever the case may be. I've seen people run into incidences where they've had to take a shit, so they just go in the corner and they take a shit on the train. This is all true stories, okay? Again, I've traveled around Philly, Boston, D.C., Dallas, Los Angeles, 5 tremendously large metropolitan cities that I have taken public transportation in, okay? And I can tell you, of the 5, if I was just ranking these 5, and then someone said, add New York City, I would still make New York City 17th on the fucking list.
Oh my God.
I'll bullshit the ones in between. Our subway system is the absolute fucking worst anywhere on the fucking planet. That's not debatable. Wow. It does not run on time. It does not run efficiently. There is no crowd control. And I'm not putting all this on the MTA. New Yorkers are shitty. We're pushing people into the track so they can get run over. The train staff is not the one taking shits. That's the people who live here taking shits.
People on fire now, too.
Yeah, we just barbecued a lady in Coney Island not too long ago, which, by the way, is literally mere minutes from my fucking house. And every time the news pops on, my son has shits of chicken because he's old enough now to remember and recognize train stations. So when he sees an N train on 86th Street, he goes, whoa, that's over here, brother. I'm going to go in my booster seat. Fuck all this nonsense.
Yep.
And so the trains have never, ever been safe. Okay? The buses have never, ever been safe. We had to implement a fucking federal law that states if you put hands on the driver that you can face federal time in jail because the bus drivers were getting the shit kicked out of them. The buses are full. People are not paying the fare. A few people will go to the front, and then somebody in the back will go, open the door, please, so I can get out. And they're not getting out. They just open the door so everybody else can get on the bus from back. Right? So it's like and the buses are filled. You have to wait depending on the bus line that you're on. Please don't choke and die.
I might.
Whoa, that Tito's is hitting, boy. Look at he said. So we got full buses, we got full trains, and we've got full fucking congestion in the streets with the cars. So the city decided, despite everything I just fucking told you, that they were going to implement a new fucking system called the Congestion Relief Zone, where if you are in Lower Manhattan, and when I say Lower Manhattan, I mean below 60th Street, and you want to go to Upper Manhattan on any side of the island, you have to go through a scanner toll, which is going to charge your Easy Pass or your plate, which means you'll either pay through, even if you don't have an Easy Pass, if your plate is linked,
they'll mail it to you.
They'll mail it to you. If you're not linked to Easy Pass, they're going to bill you, just like you would in any other toll, right? Toll now, there's a toll now for $9.
Sheesh.
It's $9. Now, if you enter New York through Jersey, either from George Washington, Lincoln, or Holland, whatever those prices, which I believe was like 15 recently, it's now like 26.
Jesus.
To get into Manhattan. Luckily,
that's crazy.
Luckily for me and you, the only bridge not affected by that is the Verrazano. And the reason for that is because that bridge is not connected to another state. It's connected to a still New York property, which is Staten Island. That's why I say me and you are fortunate, because when you guys come to visit us, you usually I'm assuming you guys usually take Verrazano into the city.
I'm assuming that's what it is, because I don't take the normal way.
Yeah, I know for a fact the girls do, so I know your GPS is probably taking you over the Verrazano, which is dope. That price is going to stay the same. That bridge is untouched, so it won't affect us on that end. But if you were going from like North Jersey into Manhattan, whether it be through the George Washington, the Lincoln, or the Holland, it's jumped up. Now, what we used to do here in New York is those were major tunnels and bridges. Those bridges and tunnels already had fares on them. Like the Verrazano's not going up, but you have to pay to get over the Verrazano, right? So in New York, we have other bridges. We've got, like connect to Manhattan, we have the Queensboro Bridge, we have the Brooklyn Bridge, the Williamsburg Bridge, and the Manhattan Bridge. I'm not gonna bore you with the details as to where in Manhattan these bridges lead you off. The important part of the conversation is that those bridges are no longer free. They used to be free. See, if you want to get into the city fast, you pay for the Battery Tunnel or one of these other, Midtown tunnels or whatever. You pay to get in quicker, right? Because it's direct shot. It usually is a little less traffic because you have to pay. So it usually is a little less traffic, right? So if you don't mind paying a few bucks, you can take the tunnel, you can get into Manhattan a little quicker. But for most people, you want to save yourself some change, you take a free bridge, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, whatever. Those bridges are no longer free. They are now $9, just like the 60th Street is. Now, here's a catch for those of you New Yorkers who probably don't know this. But technically speaking, the only reason that those bridges are not free is because all of those bridges, when you go over the bridge and you go into Manhattan, they take you to the streets. They don't take you to a highway. The Brooklyn Bridge is designed to where you come off of it. If you stay left, you hit the streets. But if you stay right, it will take you directly to the FDR Drive, and the FDR Drive and on the other side, the West Side Highway, will not be hit with Congestion Relief Zone fares. So you can still get uptown for free through the FDR or through the West Side Highway. Now, I know this is a lot of information, but this is where the frustration is. Because they're calling it the Congestion Relief Fare. And you're paying to go through a Congestion Relief Zone. So one would think that the reason for the price is to behave like a deterrent. Right? Just like I said a second ago. If you want to get there fast, take the battery, but that's going to cost you some money. If you're not in a rush, take the bridge. You'll be in some traffic, but it will be free. They're trying to take that attitude and put it to the congestion relief. So they're saying, It's supposed to be a deterrent. So here, we're going to charge you $9 to go through this. If you don't want to pay the $9, you have options. You could take one of the highways, FDR or West Side Highway. You could take a train, or you could take a bus. But hear me out, folks. Before this congestion relief went into place, the FDR Drive and the West Side Highway were already congested and gridlocked. You can't travel midday on the fucking FDR Drive or on the fucking West Side Highway. Now what they've done is they've told Manhattan, if you come this way, we'll charge you. So now everyone is going to be on the already gridlocked West Side Highway and FDR Drive. So if you want to save yourself a few bucks, yes, take the Brooklyn Bridge, go directly to the FDR Drive. You'll save yourself some bucks, but you better not be in a hurry because you're not going anywhere. So the thought process is as long as I don't have to go above 60th Street, I won't have to pay any money. However, businesses, plumbing, ambulances, fire truck, the whole shebang, everyone has to go past fucking 60th Street. That's why it's a congested area. So they said, no worries. All of the money that we get from the tolls will not be sent to the city. Every single dime and dollar will be sent to the MTA so that they can take that money and make all the vast improvements that they need to make and catch up in modernizing our MTA subway system. So hold the phone. Is this a deterrent or is this a GoFundMe project? Because what you're saying is you don't have to pay this money. There are some options. Take a train, take a bus, take the highway. You don't have to pay this. But then everything else that you're offering is going to be congested. We're going to still be sitting in it. So they'll say, oh, so with the deterrent, you're going to clear up this area because only really a few people can afford to do it. But then on the other hand, they're saying, well, if you have to and you're going to go through here anyway, don't worry. We'll take the money from you anyway, and we'll save the MTA as planned. So they win either way. You could either not bring your ass down here and we have the congestion relief we wanted, or you can bring your ass down here and we're giving all that money to the MTA and we, the city, don't have to pay a fucking dime. It's both. And just when you think that this thing is not bullshit enough, it's $9 between the between the time of, I believe it's 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. One or the other. Early morning, 8 a.m., 9 a.m., just before the rush hour hits, all the way up until about 9 p.m. And then after 9 p.m., it's considered overnight time. And you would think, 2 in the morning, no one's really out on the road, right?
To be free, there's no congestion.
Should be free. There's no congestion to be relieved from. Nope, 2:25. 2:25. Now, people are going to tell you, oh, if you're a city worker, or if you have this situation, or if you have that situation, you can apply and you can get discounts, and you can get credits, and you can do this and you can do that. It's hoops. They want you to jump through hoops for shit you were already doing. So, I posted, and you know what, just for the sake of it, I'll go ahead and I'll read the fucking post, just to be clear about where I'm standing on this, because I want people to understand very clearly what I wrote, because it went all over the place, and I don't, Scam Likely's calling me while I'm doing this. There it is. So here's the post itself. It says, they tried pricing you out of NYC with the rent, which is true. We went through a complete overhaul in the late 90s, early 2000s, where all of a sudden everything just started skyrocketing. You couldn't grandfather people into the apartments anymore. Not even low-income housing. People used to pass their apartments on to their kids, put them on the lease, and just keep the payments going, and then either rent control it or do the increase from the new lease signing. You're not even allowed to discuss that anymore. Once you are old enough, or you croak and you leave this earth, those fucking keys better come back. It doesn't happen. Then they tried pricing you out with the food prices. This is the same city that started charging almost $20 for eggs. You couldn't get fucking eggs over here for forever. Then they took almost all the gas stations out of Lower Manhattan so you couldn't drive to work. There are no gas stations in Lower Manhattan. None. And if you find one, let's say the average gas here. Hold on one second. Oh, excuse me. Let's say the average gas price like for instance, where I'm at right now in my neighborhood, it's about $2.98, $2.97, something like that. Right now, if I go to that one gas station that I know for sure is around 18th Street in Manhattan, it's $5. And I'm not even exaggerating. It's either $4.90 something or $5.00 something. It's $5.
That's crazy.
And so I said, then they tried to price you out with the MTA fare hike, so you can't go to work. And now they want to overcharge you to simply have access to a whole other side of the island with congestion relief fares. Only one way to stop this: just give them what they want. The whole island to themselves, and take your NYC loving ass somewhere else. They aren't going to fix the MTA because they want you to be fed up and leave. Their idea of congestion relief is you leaving, not them. Whether you grew up here or not, raised your family here or not, they don't want us here anymore. No matter how much you love NYC, it will never love you back. Hashtag take a hint. I posted that, and it fucking went everywhere. And when I went everywhere, that means I started getting comments and stuff from people that I don't even know. Because, one person shares, and all of a sudden now they go to the original post and they start fucking commenting. And there were people on here, just some of them I've deleted and blocked because it's just pure stupidity. It's pure stupidity. One guy I kept because I think I was able to talk him out of this shit. But he had put it out there. New Yorkers voted for this. This was put out for public consumption, and New Yorkers voted on this, and it won overwhelmingly. And I responded to him, who did they showcase this vote to? Because I've lived here a long time. I didn't hear about this until about a week or two ago. And apparently, when I had heard about it, it had already been voted on already. I said, I don't know a single person who lives in this city who was asked, hey, you want to pay $9 to go uptown? And they went, yeah, sure, fuck it. That didn't happen. So either you went to, because in order to vote, you have to be a New York resident. So I'm not doubting that they were New Yorkers, but they were the right New Yorkers. You feel what I'm saying? These were the people that they knew that if we give them the information, they'll vote the way we want them to vote. Because if I tell you, if you took this shit to Chinatown, if you took this shit to LES, if you took this shit to Spanish Harlem, if you took this shit to regular fucking Harlem, if you took this shit anywhere where it's an issue when it comes to traveling, there's no fucking way they would have voted, yeah, sure, charge me $9. This was the elite. This was the people with the money. This is the people who want, not for nothing, the biggest reason we have more congestion than ever before is because for those 3 or 4 lane streets that we did have, we lost a lane for bikes. We lost a lane for decor. There are people just putting big-ass potted plants in the middle of the fucking street. And now we're condensed. 8th Avenue in Midtown right now is just 2 fucking lanes. There's nowhere to fucking go. They removed parking due to the need to get commercial trucks in, right, for deliveries and to keep the businesses rolling on 5th Avenue and Lexington Ave and all that stuff. You can't park anywhere on the east side because it's all commercial parking 3 hours, commercial parking 3 hours. The parking garages that are all in Midtown Manhattan start you off at a half an hour at like $15. And then an hour it's like $20. And then if you go past like 2 or 3 hours, they just say, you know what, you can stay the whole day, but that'll be $45. There's no hospital parking. There's no store parking. Like if you want to go to a Bed Bath & Beyond, you have to plan ahead to go to Bed Bath & Beyond. There's nowhere to put your fucking vehicle. So we can't park anywhere. We can't drive anywhere. And now I have to pay $9 to do that. It's fucking ridiculous. And it doesn't make any fucking sense. Because they're talking out of both sides of their face. They're using it as both a deterrent and a relief system financially.
So who was in defense of it?
Who the fuck do you think? Everybody who lives on the Upper East Side and the Upper West Side, all the people with the fucking money, they revealed on 60th Street, because 60th Street, if for people who aren't aware, on the east side of 60th Street, which is like right, you're approaching Central Park at about 60th Street, one of the most infamous fucking places in this city. I mean, the richest and the whitest motherfuckers who live are all on Columbus Circle, which is on 59th Street. So when they went to go put up the signs for the Easy Pass and the $9, they had that shit under like a draped, like, it was covered by like a blanket. And they did like this big fucking reveal where they took off the blanket and revealed the sign, and the fucking crowd went crazy. Woo! Yeah! Yeah, they're cheering for it because A, they're not fucking doing it. A lot of the rich folks who live in Midtown don't fucking drive. They Uber, they cab, they take the occasional bus. They're not paying that shit. They don't give a fuck if somebody has to pay $9 or not. And I've heard some people say, hey, it doesn't affect me. And if it starts to affect the people who are shipping my business materials and my inventory, like if you own a supermarket on 88th Street, and the fucking people have to come across that motherfucker to bring you your food and bring you your inventory, even they're not fucking mad about it because they're like, hey, charge the company. It's not up to you and it's not up to me. It's whatever. They don't give a fuck. There's a lot of people in the city who don't give a fuck because they actually like the idea that it's one or the other. They go, oh, if they don't come, then it's decongested, just like we planned. If they do come, but we'll still get a whole bunch of money for that, and we'll give it to the MTA. You know how much money the city has given the MTA over the course of I don't know how many years? And not only did that money just grow legs and walk away, but our subway system has gotten worse. Like you just said a second ago, we just barbecued a lady on fucking Coney Island. And we can't even sit here and say, well, it was a weird situation. We didn't happen to have a cop around. We didn't have any security. No, in the video with the burning lady, who, by the way, wasn't sitting in a chair slowly rotisserie to death. Her body was landlocked. She was in a standing position. She was actually almost kind of walking while on fire because her muscles landlocked. And in that video, the culprit, the motherfucker who set her on fire, is waving his jacket, fanning the flames, and in the shot walks a uniformed police officer. Just do like it was fucking Tuesday.
Barbecue?
Word. Is there chips? Like, what's going on? Like, don't give me that Pepsi shit. Where's my RC Cola at? That's what I'm talking about. That cop in question was brought up on a lot of social media pages. Why didn't you help? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? First and foremost, what the fuck is he going to do? Not only was she on fire, the fucking train car was on fire. If you look at the video footage, it looked like this poor lady was sitting in the mouth of hell. She couldn't go left. She couldn't go right. She's just securing the idea that she's going to die here. This is it. This is where I go. On a train in the middle of fucking Coney Island. This is what was chosen for me. He's not going to... What do you want him to do? Spit? What do you want him to do? The whole thing is on fire. Helping her...
Yeah, it's one thing to not be able to do something, but you should also not be nonchalant.
No, let me continue. There was nothing he could do for her. But let's just say, and it's doubtful because I've spent a lot of time in that train station. Let's just say he's the only cop there. Which, like I just said, far-fetched. They usually roll at least by twos in that station. But let's say, for the sake of conversation, he was the only one. If this lady is currently on fire, and you've already radioed in EMS, fire department, the whole shebang, and they're on the way, one would think, because for those of you who don't know about the Coney Island train station, it's the last stop on several trains. The N, the Q, the F, and the D. Okay? 2 orange, 2 yellows. That's the last stop. And there's only one way out of that station. There's one entryway. Either if you choose the steps or the walk ramp, there's only one way out. So if you have a lady on fire, here is a thought. Lock the fucking station down and start asking some fucking questions. Because everyone on this platform is filming the incident with their phone like it's fucking YouTube fodder, like it's content. And if he would have taken 2 seconds to realize, since no one seems to be in a rush to go anywhere, let me lock this down so when people get in here, the real people, more cops, more ambulance, more fire department, once the real team gets in, we can start questioning motherfuckers. What did you see?
That's not going to happen. It's New York.
No, I know.
Himself and do that shit, he's going to get stomped to the fucking ground.
I know that that's not going to fuck. First of all, doubtful. On that one, that's doubtful. Because I could hear in the video there were a lot of concerned people. And I think they would have understood watching this lady before their very eyes melt and burn to death. I think in this one situation, people would have been like, all right, I can stand to answer a few fucking questions. Because the crazy part about the whole thing is that the guy who was fanning the flames when they started really taking care of the train car at that point, he was homeless, just like the lady who burned was also homeless. He didn't have anywhere to go. He got on the next train out. He just chilled on the platform until a train came. Then he sat on that train. And if you've been to Coney Island waiting for that train to move, you know the pain and suffering that causes. He was there for a minute. Then the train pulls off and he dips. They used a train car camera, which we have those now all of a sudden, to dictate who did what and where. And they were able to get a clean face shot of him. And they released that on the internet and they put it out there on the news. Hey, this is the wanted, whatever. Within the hour of them putting out that APB for this guy, a couple of high school kids saw him on one of the trains and they called the police and they got him. And now he's currently in the midst of going through all that shit you're supposed to go through before you go to jail for forever. They're actually looking for the death penalty for him, which I'm not even sure if that's legal here or not, but that's what I read. But that's my point. That's the alternative, folks. Either pay your $9 or take your chances at the fucking circus. That's what it is. In the same week this lady was lit on fire, the N train, which is the one that I live near, had a live active shooting in it.
Oh.
Same week, 7 train, Queensbound, had a stabbing on it. This is all within the same week. And in the same week that all those things happened, the week ended by them telling us you have to pay $9 to go uptown or take a train.
True.
You're out of here.
Damn, that's crazy. $9, please.
Yeah. Word. They just burnt that lady alive. That's crazy. You got like $9 because you can avoid being killed if you got $9. You got $9?
You got $9.
Yeah.
You may not get lit on fire.
So today, the newspapers here were stating that the police have decided to uptick their police force on the subway tracks, or subway stations, I should say, and on their ridership on trains. They've pumped it up. They've added 200 more cops to patrols on the subway. And you would think, hearing that, see, okay, maybe this is them trying to make an effort. But it's like, you know when you say something nice and then you ruin it immediately after by saying something sarcastic?
Spoke too soon?
Yeah, spoke too soon. Yeah, it's like when you see somebody come out, they're trying on a dress, they come out, girl, that dress looks great on you. And usually dresses don't because you're fat as fuck. But like this one does look great on you. This hugs your fat ass hips just wonderfully. That's what they did. They said, well, we're increasing our patrols. We're adding about 200 more bodies to the train stations. And you wait for it and they go, even though, not for nothing, but the crime rate on the subway has recently been studied and it's dropped 3%. So we're just trying to we're not trying to let anything slip through the cracks. We're trying to take precautions. I'm like 3%. Crime dropped 3%. 3 less people got mugged on the fucking thing. So now 97 more people don't need protection at all whatsoever from what? What are you talking about? This fucking city is ridiculous. My son doesn't pay anything, and he was listening to it on the news. He went, fuck that. He was just like, what? That's crazy. I'm like, it is what it is. And one last thing, we'll switch to the guy who told me, yeah, well, New Yorkers voted on it, like it was passed because New Yorkers wanted that to happen. You're not talking to real New Yorkers. No way. I've never met a New Yorker who was willing to just give up $9 for anything. For nothing. They asked people over here for $9 for fucking eggs. And for the record, I fucking love eggs. I don't mind, so I'm not a big fan of traffic and driving through Manhattan in the first place. I love eggs. I'm not paying $9 for fucking eggs. And I'm definitely not. And I have an Easy Pass. An Easy Pass, by the way, that I use so infrequently that it's on an automatic, and I don't even pay attention to when I'm using it. I just use it. But now I got to be careful. Because now I can't get to Manhattan without that shit being scanned like 3 fucking times. So now we have that same problem. Alex's school schedule is different than the regular school schedule from the DOE. He's a charter school. So his school ends 1 week before actual school ends. So that's 5 days where we have to go in the early morning from here to Manhattan to drop him off, then drive from Manhattan back into Brooklyn to go to work. We have to do that same exact trip later to pick him up. So it's 9 and 9 in the morning, 18, 9 and 9 in the afternoon, 18. That's $36 for 5 days. That's 36, that's 5, that's 0, 3, that's 15. That's 180 something ish dollars for the week that we didn't plan on spending because all we were doing was dropping him off at a family member's house. That's it. 180 something dollars that we now have to budget for because of somebody else's bullshit. And I didn't even touch on the fact that why would the MTA be involved at all in a traffic situation? But I digress. Anyway, that's my TED Talk. I'm done.
That's crazy.
I'm done with it. I'm just like, whatever. I got half a mind to just tell motherfuckers, because we got to a point when we were hearing about this and conversating. It was like, damn, are we gonna have to take the fucking train to Manhattan to drop his ass off, or are we gonna have to just eat it? I gotta spend my fucking like my savings money on this shit to get his ass to a fucking house. It's crazy.